Whatever rocks your socks, whatever spins your top, whatever winds your watch, whatever flips your flop, whatever turns you on, whatever flies your flag, whatever bangs your gong, or whatever swings your bag. Do it often, but do it well, 'cause nobody knows and there's no way to tell when the ride ends.
Fish Balls by Steve Ross. When Mui came back with the fish ball, she asked Gao about her breasts. "Elder sister Gao, Ka, I'm afraid the Farang won't like my boobs." Gao was painting black lacquer onto Jeep's toenails. She didn't look up. Why not? They're big enough. Mui was taking the fish balls off their sticks and arranging balls and sticks on a plate. She took 3 wads of sticky rice out of 3 plastic sleeves and put them on another plate. "Ah, my nipples go inside. They don't stick up." She poured the sauce out of the little plastic bag into a bowl and placed the plates and bowl on the bare concrete floor, in the middle of the triangle formed by Jeep, Gao, and Nut. The older women busied themselves with the food for a moment. They all had sarongs wrapped around them. Their hair was wet. Nut was struggling to keep Gimme, Gao's new puppy, from lunging at the food. "Fuck, mother! I'm putting him out!" She slid across the floor and pushed Gimme out the door, closing it before he could get back in. She slid back to the circle and used one of the pointed sticks to spear a fishball, dipping it in the sauce before depositing it gingerly in her mouth. "Show us," she said. Mui was standing against the cinder block wall, outside the triangle. She dutifully pulled up the hem of her sun-faded t-shirt. The older women casually looked up from their meal and examined her breasts. Her areolae were large and dark brown. Her nipples were inverted. The women turned their attention back to their food. Mui waited for further instructions. Nut wiped her fingers on her sarong and licked her lips. Outside, Gimme was whining and scratching at the door. She looked over at Mui and said, "Are they always that way?" "Ah, I think so." "You think so? Don't they ever stand up? What happens when a man sucks them?" "I don't know. No man has ever sucked them." The 3 older women exchanged looks, but didn't comment. Gao asked, "What happens when you get cold?" Mui raised her eyebrows. "Oh, they pop up then. Back home, it got cold sometimes and they'd stand up, but it's never cold enough on Phuket." Nut offered the last fishball to Gao, since it was her home. Gao demurred and offered the ball to Jeep, who said, "Don't want it, Ka, full already." She picked up the ball and slid back over to the door, still being mindful of her toes. Opening the door a crack, she tossed the fishball outside to Gimme. Mui watched it go wistfully, but without any feeling of injustice. Gao came over to Mui and examined her breasts closely. "Pinch them," she said. Mui dutifully began abusing her nipples with her fingers. Nut came over to watch. Jeep rose and moved to a cheap dressing table made of bent aluminum tubes and plastic, walking gingerly, her toes raised off the floor. She sat on the tiny stool and began examining her face in the mirror. Mui continued massaging her nipples. She wouldn't stop until she was told to. "Nothing's happening," said Gao. "Oh, she's not doing it hard enough," said Newt. She reached out and yanked on one of Mui's nipples. The girl squealed, and the older women laughed. "Cover them up," said Gao. "You're right. The Farang won't like that. It thinks if nipples stand up, that means it's a good lover. You've got to make it think it's a good lover if you want its money." From the dressing table, Jeep said, "Lizards." Gao slid to a plastic basket of comic books and knickknacks and fished out a deck of playing cards. Newt slid over to join her, bringing a towel to spread on the floor. She said to Jeep, "Don't be long, nah. I still have to make up." Jeep looked at Newt in the mirror, saw that Newt was not looking at her, and so she stuck out her tongue. Mui busied herself gathering up the plate, bowl, sticks, but she saw Jeep stick out her tongue. Jeep saw that Mui had caught her, and she gave the girl a dark look. Gao finished shuffling the cards and started to deal. "Black frog, red frog, nah?" Newt nodded assent and began to gather her cards into her hand. Mui paused next to Jeep as she crossed to the bathroom with the plates. "Big sister Ka, excuse me, nah? You're so successful. I hope you will teach me. How do you make the Farang think it's a good lover?" Jeep gave the girl a warm smile. "You're right, little sister dear. I am successful. I'm the most successful girl in CB's bar. The Farang love Jeep, love much, much. Gaw, a silly little country girl like you, just come out from behind the mountain, can learn a lot from a successful girl like Jeep." Newt looked at Gao with a scowl, but Gao kept her head down over the cards. This was her home, and Gao would not start a fight in her own home. Newt spoke to Jeep without looking at her. "Gaw, I think big sister Gao is the most successful girl in the bar. She has the Farang who sends her money from America every month. She has its money, and she can work too if she has the mood." Jeep turned halfway around on her stool and bowed her head in the direction of her hostess. "Of course, big sister Gao is certainly successful." Gao smiled thanks at Jeep and cut the cards. "Mui, listen, nah? Nut has 2 beautiful children back in Nakhon Nayok. They go to school, and they have food to eat and toys to play with, and when they're sick, they see a doctor. She's the most successful girl in CB's bar." Mui blurted out without thinking, "But you have children too, big sister Gao." For a moment, nobody spoke. Jeep suddenly needed to search for something in the apothecary of debris on the vanity table. Newt rearranged her cards. Gao stared at Mui. "Newt's children recognize her when they see her," she said. "They call her Mother Dear. When she is old, she can live with them. That's success." Mui was frozen with shame and fear. She knew she'd said the wrong thing, bringing up elder sister Gao's children, but she didn't know what to say to fix things. Jeep saved her. She smiled at Mui in the mirror and said, "Don't worry. No man will ever put any babies in your hard little coconut belly, Mui. You'll always be a maid." And then she laughed. Newt and Gao smiled at her too, and joined in the laughter, and finally so did Mui, in ecstatic relief. Everybody in the room knew that Mui's was the only laughter that was genuine, but it did not matter, as long as everybody was laughing. Jeep said, "Go wash those plates, Mui. When you finish, I'll let you brush my hair for me, and I'll tell you a few things about Farang." Mui scampered off eagerly. Newt and Gao threw a few cards down on the towel. Gao leaned over to let Gimme back in the room. The puppy ran around furiously looking for the missing fish balls. He made a circuit of the room and then began to search again in all the same places. Newt laid all her cards out and called a number. Geo swore, gathered the cards, and began to shuffle. Newt looked over her shoulder at Jeep, who was still studying her face in the mirror. "Ayah, little sister. I still need to make up. Hurry, nah?" Jeep didn't like it when Newt pulled rank by pointing out their relative ages, but she never took her eyes off their own reflections. "Mui still has to brush my hair." Newt took the cards from Gail, dealt and arranged her hand. She remembered something and said over her shoulder, "Jeep boy, why do you think you're the most successful girl in the bar?" "Gaw, what other girl has gold like this?" Newt laughed and held out her arms, rattling the gold bracelets on her wrists. "What other girl owns her own motorcycle?" Newt tensed. She was about to say something ugly when Gao said, "Other girls have babies to feed, Jeep." She would not start a fight in her home, but she sure as hell would end one. Jeep turned back to the mirror. Newt smiled at Gao and threw down a card. Mui came back from the bathroom. She approached Jeep, shoulders hunched, head lowered. Jeep handed her a brush, and Mui straightened. She began to brush Jeep's hair with long, careful strokes, stopping when she got to a knot to work the hair loose with her fingers. "Elder Sister Jeep," she said, "you were going to teach me about Farang Ka." "Fuck mother," said Jeep. It's a lizard. You don't need to come give me bother, nah?" Neither Gao nor Newt looked up from their game. They were used to Jeep's foul tongue and bad temper. But Gao heard Mui gasp, and so she said, "You promised, little sister Jeep." "Sure. I'll tell you everything you need to know, Naka. Just be careful with my hair. See? If you break a single strand, I'll break your head." Mui bit her lower lip and concentrated on Jeep's damp hair. It was very long. When she stood, it hung to her waist, and brushing it was a project. "Gaw, what to tell a stupid country girl about Farang? Huh. Here, listen good, nah? Laugh at everything it says." Mui stopped brushing. Ka, I will laugh at everything it says. What else?" "That's all you need to know. It's a lizard. Just do that and you'll have gold falling out of your asshole in a month. Now brush. Fuck, mother." Gimme had given up his search for more fish balls and came to investigate the card game. He charged into the towel and scattered the cards. Gao laughed with glee and picked him up in a hug. "Ayah, what are you doing, Gimme dear? You make your mommy angry, do you know?" She plopped him onto his back and began to tickle his soft, fat belly. Gimme squirmed in ecstasy. He playfully snapped at his mistress's fingers and caught her a nip. Gao shouted and pushed the dog hard with her foot. He slid on the towel across the slick concrete floor and struck the cinder block wall. Cards scattered everywhere. The puppy yelped and dashed to the bedroom. Newt sighed and began to gather up the cards. "I don't know why you keep getting dogs," she said. "You pay good money to feed them for a couple of months, and then they always die under a truck in the road." Gao looked at her finger and noted a lack of bleeding. "I don't like to be alone," she said. Newt gave her friend a soft look. "Nobody does, elder sister." Mui was still brushing Jeep's hair. Gao said to her, "You want to know the truth about Farang, nah? Don't go with it if it's too drunk. You want one who is just drunk enough. If it's sober, you can't control it. Too drunk, then you can't control it. You want it just drunk enough." Gao and Jeep made noises of agreement. Gao said, "Oh, listen here, nah. Don't worry. You'll get used to the smell." Both Newt and Jeep in unison. "What? How long does that take?" More laughter. "Maybe a month. Longer for some." "Really? I've never been with one for a month. But I can tell you that a week is not long enough to get used to the smell. It's better to only go short time. More money that way, fewer problems. Let it win its snooker, see? Unless you've made a bet. Never tell it that it's wrong about anything. Never tell it that you have kids. Never tell it that you have herpes." Convulsive laughter. Jeep was shaking so hard, Mui was afraid to come near her head with the brush. Newt said, "Mui, here's something else. Tell it that its cock is the biggest one you've ever seen. See?" More happy laughter. Mui looked confused. Jeep said, "Yeah, a stupid country girl like you could get away with that. It would never believe that coming from me." More laughter. "But elder sister Jeep, the Buddha says we mustn't lie." Newt snorted. "The Buddha never had to work with Farang, and they all lie. You can't trust any of them. They all have black hearts." "But elder sister, must we lie too?" Newt said, "We lie to them, sure, but that's only work. When you start to work, you will tell a lot of Farang you love them, nah? You won't mean it, of course, but you won't be lying either. Like an actress on TV, just work." They were all surprised when Jeep said, in a soft, unfamiliar voice, "Someday, one of them will tell you that he loves you. I'll tell you now, don't believe him. They don't feel love, not like we feel love. They only think with their cocks, and that's not love. But someday a Farang will tell you that he loves you, and even though I'm warning you now, you will believe him. And then he will hurt you. They always hurt you, nah? That's what they pay for, you know? Not the sex. They pay to hurt you. It's like a competition. Who can hurt you the most? The one who tells you that he loves you, if you believe him, he wins. Because if you believe him, then you love him back. I don't mean you tell him that you love him, because that's just work, nah? I mean if you believe he loves you, really loves you, then you'll love him back. Love, true, true. And that's when he's hurt you more than anybody else could ever hurt you. And when he's done hurting you, the lizard will leave." Jeep was looking at herself again in the mirror. "And then you have to go back to the bar and be nice to Farang every single day, every single night. You know how they'll hurt you, but you have to be nice to them and do what they want you to do and smile while you're doing it. And what they want you to do is cry. So you have to cry and smile, cry and smile." Gimme poked his nose out of the bedroom and sniffed the air for phantom fish balls. Newt rose to her feet, tightened her sarong around her breasts, and took the brush from Mui. "I'll do this, Mui. You go iron my blue top. I want to wear it to the bar tonight." Jeep smiled at her friend in the mirror. "Your lucky top, nah? What, you think you'll get lucky tonight?" "I beat elder sister Gao at cards 3 hands in a row. I think I'll be lucky tonight. And why not? I'll be with my best friend, the most successful girl in CB's bar. Who has gold like this?" She reached down and touched Jeep's arm. Then she began to brush her long, glossy hair. Mui headed for the bedroom, and Gimme ventured out. He crept up to Gao, who absent-mindedly began to pet him. "Mui!" She lifted Gimme and nuzzled him under her chin. "Get out my sequin tube top. I feel lucky tonight as well. I used up all my bad luck at cards. and take out that lilac dress. The one Sister Nim gave me. You can wear that tonight. I think you'll look cute in that. Mui came back into the room. Elder Sister Ka, you will take me to the bar tonight? Jeep answered for Gail, and she spoke in her old voice. Fuck mother! Only if you hurry up with the ironing, you stupid country girl. First, we'll go by the shrine on Soy Firefly and make an offering. You can pray for nipples, little sister. Who knows? Maybe tonight we'll all get lucky.
So this is the barracks. 30 years ago, I lived for 3 months in that unit right there with a young woman named Gao from Nakanayok. And all of these units, you can't see them now because they are permanent residences. People are actually living there. Back then, these units were just full of bar girls, and it's basically where they kept their clothes because they didn't sleep here at night. If they could help it, they slept somewhere else. But Gail and I slept there in domestic bliss for 3 months. And this is one little piece of geography which has remained relatively the same. All of this is built up. There were none of these apartments, none of these cars. Nobody who lived here owned a car. But yeah, right inside there, a lot of drama went on. And I am pleased that at least the structure still exists. I don't know why, but that pleases me. Make of that what you will.
Whatever rocks your socks, whatever spins your top, whatever winds your watch, whatever flips your flop, whatever turns you on, whatever flies your flag, whatever bangs your gong or whatever swings your bag. Do it often but do it well, 'cause nobody knows and there's no way to tell when the right ends. Enough of this nonsense.